Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is Thursday, the 9th of June, 2022. My name is Kerry Holzman, and thank you so much for joining me. Although I introduced myself, in my mind, I think 95% of my viewers are regulars. So if you're new here, welcome in. I am doing what I can to avoid the psychological warfare that is seen as entertainment by people who have no lives and nothing better to do. And we've turned on memberships, and I'm trying to allow more people into the chat room who are not members. So if you're a subscriber for at least 5 days, that's good enough for today's broadcast. I'm still trying different settings to see where the sweet spot is. The troublemakers are never people who have been subscribers for a long time, or rather, it's pretty rare that somebody who's been a subscriber creates any trouble. So if you're new here and you're discouraged that you're not able to participate in the chat, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button, and within a matter of days you'll be able to enter the chat room on future live broadcasts. This is because YouTube is very lax in what they allow, and there's just a lot of people with nothing better to do, and it's disruptive to what I'm trying to do is teach. So that's why it is the way it is for now. Or you can always become a member for $9.99 a month, and that'll instantly give you chat room access as well as members only content. I don't have a lot of members only content at this time. I've got a lot of things happening here, but I will be making content that will be members only content and will never be released publicly. So there will be some more incentive and benefits for people who are members. And for those of you who are already members, or all those familiar faces in blue in the chat room, thank you guys so much for making this possible, allowing it to grow the size that it has. And honestly, if it doesn't get any bigger than this, I'm okay. People that want to threaten me with their subscription because they don't like something I do, I don't need that in my life. We started this channel back in 2008, before those people probably even knew what YouTube was, and for them to come in here and you know, think their subscription has value, it doesn't. What does have value is your kindness, your support, and your participation. So if you want to be valuable to this content creator, be a part of our amazing community of kind and supportive individuals, because you know, as long as we're getting like-minded, kind people, I don't care what gender, what race, what age, I don't care what religion, I don't care your education level or income status, none of that is important. What is important is kindness. And it's amazing that in my lifetime that this has become the issue that it has become, where I've got to request it, or I've got to make people very aware. If you've been locked out, it's because you did not display courtesy or kindness. So those people get banned from the channel. They can still watch, but they have no way to interact with me, neither from chat room or comments, ever. So it creates a lot of noise, right? If you're teaching a class and you have a student that's constantly making noise, it's making it difficult for the others in the class who are genuinely there for the lessons. It's very disrespectful and very discourteous. So that's why things are set the way they are for this live broadcast. Now, as you can see, I have nothing set out on the table, and that's because I've been running around the last few days, and I didn't even know I was going to be going live until about 10 minutes ago. And I wanted to start the broadcast earlier than scheduled so I can start you know, getting things prepared. So normally this is all stuff that I would do off camera, but you'll get a little behind the scenes peek as to some of the setup that's involved. And it isn't a whole lot, but there are decisions that have to get made, and things have to be prepared. Just clearing this counter off is preparation enough as far as I'm concerned. But what I want to do today is, I have several motherboards that I've prepped over the last few months, and they've been sitting in the other room. And they're kind of in my way, and they're in my way on purpose. If I don't see them, I'll forget about them. So they need to be in my way, forcing me to have to walk around it or work around it to motivate me and remind me that these are projects that were started and haven't been finished. Why do projects get started and not finished might be something you're asking, and that's strictly because I am my only employee. I run a full-time computer repair job. It's probably part-time at this point, and running a YouTube channel, well, at the same time I'm maintaining 2 physical locations, as well as trying to have what mediocre part of a social life there is left. So it really doesn't leave a whole lot of time for me to finish projects that don't have customers waiting. So that's the other part of the equation. Why aren't they finished? Because no customers own them. There's no pressure, right? Nobody's pressuring me to say, hey, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? As a result, many of the builds that I started remain incomplete because they have no buyers. So what's a good way to motivate me to finish it? Sell it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try something a little different here, and that is I'm going to start putting a system together, which is basically a prepped motherboard that's going to need Windows updates for however long it's been sitting. I need to pick whatever case and power supply I'm going to put in there, and then I'm going to offer it to any of my viewers that are in the United States at a cost that's at a price that's less than my cost, which is a terrible business model. Nobody can run any business buying $800 worth of parts and selling them for anything less. In this case, however, I want to establish a good rapport with many of my viewers who are wanting to buy a machine from me, but perhaps don't have as much money. As the machines I build are not cheap. They're also not expensive, but I don't build the junk you can, $300 computers. I don't build those. And, we've done a lot of giveaways, and I've run into a lot of issues with the giveaways from people who don't seem to honor the value. So I figure if somebody's willing to put a little bit of money forward, it'll be a transaction that everybody's happy with. I won't be, upset that I'm getting phone calls for support for something I gave away for free, or that I'm not even hearing back from the person who won with so much as a notification to let me know they received it or a thank you. So by forcing somebody to pony up some money, I'm pretty confident it's going to result in somebody thanking me for offering them a good deal and preventing me from having any resentment for helping complete strangers with, no benefit other than, you give away one computer, you make one person happy. So I figure let's try something different and see how this works. It's been my experience that when I do things for free, that is the source of 90% of my frustrations. Generally, when on the business side, on my professional business side, customers pay me and thank me, and on the YouTube side, where people get things for free, they tend to be more critical. They tend to not take what I'm doing sincerely and try their best to be disruptive. That never comes from paying individuals. The paying individuals show more gratitude. I don't understand why or how that works. I would think that if I'm giving you something, I would get more gratitude. But I'm sharing this with you because it has been universally this way for a long, long time, and this appears to be the way our culture and society are. And if you're thinking of doing anything for free, well, be prepared. I can almost guarantee you'll get more gratitude by offering a good discounted price than you will for giving something for free. I don't know why, but it's just it's happening so much now that I'm very discouraged from any more giveaways. I still do. I'm still going to do giveaways, but for today, and maybe I'll go through the series of boards I have. I have several prepped motherboards, and if this works out well, then we'll do it again until I run out of the inventory, because I'm motivated to get the inventory out the door. It's certainly not getting worth more by having it sit, and it is in my way, but that's not a license to take advantage. It's not a license to You know, I've had people approach that think I'm in a tight spot so that they're going to offer me morsels and I'm going to be grateful. That's not the case at all. This is more of a, psychologically, I would like the space back. I'd like to have the freedom of space, and I'm not desperate for it. So, you know, as long as everybody's being respectful and there's sincere offers, I'm happy to entertain them. So let me go in the other room. Let me find what board we're going to finish up today. As I mentioned, I've got boards in the other room. They already have RAM, solid state drives, and coolers, and they're just waiting on perhaps updates and to be installed. So immediately I see a build here. Well, I see several. I have what I believe would be a great system for somebody here. Now, this motherboard was sent to me by a viewer named Ryan, who's in Nevada, and Ryan's been a great supporter, a great friend of the channel. And Ryan will often look on my production wish list and find items that I'm wanting, and he'll order them and have them sent to me from Amazon. And recently he did just that with a couple of flashlights I've been looking for. This one by a company called Nebo has been, I mean, I just got it the other day, and it's a $60 flashlight. It has rechargeable batteries. It comes with a USB charger. You pull down right here, there's your charge port. As you can imagine, I go through batteries like crazy in flashlights. And I've got some very cheap flashlights. I often will pull them out. I can get 10 of these metal, kind of aluminum, standard pen light flashlights. You get 10 of them for about $30. They run about $3 a piece. They take 2 AAA batteries. They're a simple on and off. They don't do any flashing. They don't have dimmable modes. You can drop them. You could probably run it over with the car. It's very robust, but the buttons do tend to get a little bit flaky over time. See, it's kind of, and a lot of the flashlights of this form factor have that same kind of button. I've got a Milwaukee flashlight from the tool maker Milwaukee. They sell these at Home Depot. It's a little bit wider, but the button requires a lot of force to push it. So it's fine, but preferably I have a flashlight that's bright enough, comfortable enough, and I don't have to hit the button 17 times to go through 17 different modes. And this one looked pretty promising, so Ryan there in Nevada sent this to me, and thank you, as always, Ryan. The button is what I like the most about it. Well, it looks like it's the same kind of hard press button. It's a very soft touch button. And it starts out in a medium brightness. You tap it once and you'll see it just electronically like dims, which is very unusual. And then that'll shut it off. And I haven't read the directions on it, of course. So what I found is if you press the button in and now I hold it in, it'll get brighter. There it goes. Now it's at its brightest setting. And you can usually adjust. I don't know if you can adjust it on this one. A lot of these flashlights, yeah, there we go. You can adjust how wide you want the beam to be. Although this one doesn't seem to be doing much. Oh yeah, there it goes. So anyway, if you press the button twice very quickly, it'll flash. That would be like if you're needing some roadside assistance or something and you're parked off the side of the road and you want to make sure people can see you. It would be perfect if it would just one tap with full brightness, just like the cheap one. But overall, the only thing remaining is what the battery life's going to be like. And because these are rechargeable AAAs, I could just put regular batteries in it as well. I just wouldn't be able to charge them. In fact, attempting to charge non-rechargeable batteries could result in a fire. So not something you want to play with. But you might see me using this a lot more often in the future because I just like the way it feels. It's the perfect size. I like really the soft touch button, and I'll just have to press the button twice, to turn it off. Basically, I turn it on. It's on the medium brightness. That's fine for most cases. And then I tap it one more time for the dim and one more time for off. I wish it was one press on, one press off. It's not perfect. It's pricey at $60. but it appears to be well made, and it is the form factor that I like. And so yeah, you might be seeing a lot more of this. So I'm going to just set that over here for now, and I just wanted to give a thanks to, again, Ryan in Nevada for sending that to me. Now this motherboard was sent to me from Ryan, just the board, and I'm not exactly sure why. However, you may be aware I'm not a big fan of AMD because of the potential support costs. You know, when you build a computer for yourself, you have a problem, it's on you to figure it out, or you can, you know, ask a person like me for help. Perhaps we do that in live videos, or you go online and you ask for help. I can't do that in my business. Customers come to me for help, they pay me for that help. And if I sell them a system that requires any labor that it requires is more than, say, an Intel system in this case, it's not beneficial for my business. It costs me money. So things like, you know, taking the heat sink off almost always rips the CPU out of its socket. This doesn't happen with Intel. This is an AMD only issue. RAM compatibilities and constant BIOS updates are still a thing we're dealing with. And overall, once the systems are up and running, you can't tell AMD from Intel. They run identical. So there's nothing inherently wrong with the chip itself, but the way they've designed their heat sinks going on. I had I had a friend the other day whose liquid cooler went out on them on their AMD build they built about 6 or 7 years ago, and they were in a panic, and all the stores were closed. He said, "Do you have a cooler I could buy?" And when he told me he had an AMD system, we run into a problem where the systems, the motherboards for AMD, they have these metal back plates. And oftentimes when you install a liquid cooler or a third-party cooler, the manufacturer of the cooler provides their own backplate. But you can't really use that backplate on other coolers, or you're not supposed to. So my friend asked me, "Do you have the backplate?" I was like, I don't. I ended up ordering one, so I have one in inventory, but I didn't have one that day. So he, I told him we should build him a more modern computer. It's time to upgrade. Let's get him into an Intel system. And I just put him into another liquid cooler, knowing that the liquid cooler, generally speaking, liquid coolers come with their own backplates, whether you're using Intel or AMD, with the only exception being Threadripper and the Xeon Level X series of chips from Intel, which are super high-end, super expensive workstation models. No benefit to a gamer or even to a home user for that stuff. So I don't really see that very often. And again, it's these little hiccups with the AMDs, like that backplate, or like this heatsink pulling the whole CPU out of ripping it out of its socket, that are items that add to the risk of running a business. And when you add in the incompatibilities and issues of AMD's growing pains as they're maturing their platform, it ends up making me not look good to the customers, right? Because when a customer comes to me for a computer or for service, the only way they know if I'm doing my job correctly is if I fix it and they don't have to call me back anytime soon. So even though it may not be my fault that certain things fail or happen, the customer's perspective is, I trusted Kerry to make a good choice for me. So even if it's not directly Kerry's fault, he's the one who recommended it, and he shouldn't have recommended it if he knew that ahead of time. So either way, it's backfires on me. It doesn't make me look good. That's not good for repeat business. That's not good for referrals. So if there's one system I want to sell, I suppose it's going to be this one. And again, nothing wrong with the AMD platform. It just can be a little bit more labor involved for some things and little caveats like that. And it's not a dig at them. It's just information. It's indisputable factual information that you should consider when you're choosing a platform. And for many of you, probably all of you watching, you're probably just home users, and none of this would make much difference to you regardless. Now I'm looking and I see there's this shield on the M.2 drive that doesn't seem to lock in place. That's pretty interesting. when I put the M.2 screw in to lock the M.2 drive down, there's this little M.2 shield on this board that just seems to have nothing holding it in place. I don't quite understand why. Oh, it's got thermal tape on it. Let's remove the thermal tape. But I would assume that that is supposed to lock in some way, and it just isn't. That's interesting. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's just supposed to grab the sides of the drive. It's just an oddity from this motherboard designer, which in this case is an MSI X370 X-Power Gaming Titanium. Now the board is white, even though I've got black RAM in there, and the stock AMD heatsinks are all black. I could put it in a white case, although my preference to get computers done as quickly as possible is to not have to deal with RGB and deal with glass panels and stuff like that, especially when I'm shipping. So my first inclination is to go back to the Corsair 200R because it's a nice clean machine without dealing with the RGB, without dealing with case windows. And the color of the motherboard and everything about the cover here over the I/O ports is sort of irrelevant once you enclose it in a case that doesn't have those features. So if we want to take advantage of the looks and just make this like a black and white build, I mean, I could see this being put into a white case, and for that matter we might even consider, if we were going to do that, moving to RGB RAM. RGB RAM gives you a little bit of flair without dealing with any of the additional cable management or potential incompatibility issues that you can run into with RGB software in particular. With that, I can't remember what I put in here, so we're going to have to fire it up, see what chip is on there. I think that's 16 gigs of RAM. I think that's an Intel 1 terabyte. I'm just not exactly sure. Once we've established that, then we can figure out what case do we want to put it in, and what power supply do we want to use. For a lot of my builds, I use a 500 watt power supply because I'm using integrated graphics. GPU prices are still really expensive, although they're much easier to obtain these days. They also add quite a bit to the cost of the computer. In some cases, a GPU can double the cost of the computer. And if we were going to put a GPU in it, or the person who wants to buy it wanted to put a GPU in it after they have it, then we'd want to put in a more powerful power supply right up front. So that's one thing the customer won't have to deal with. On the other hand, if the customer is happy with the integrated graphics, they save money on the GPU, they save money on the extra cost of shipping, and they save money on a less expensive power supply. So I'm happy to customize this for someone who's interested in it. We can change out the RAM. Like I said, we could do RGB, we could put in more RAM. We can change out the NVMe drive. That's really no big deal. It doesn't really involve much labor at all. Each one of those things can be swapped out in under 2 minutes. And it doesn't really change anything else about the system, and it doesn't change anything with the cabling or the case. So I guess the first thing I want to do is just plug this in and reassociate myself with whatever hardware I put in here, because I just can't remember. There's over 30 machines here, and I've worked on I don't know how many machines this year, including multiple laptops and other things, and it all kind of blends together in my mind. It all gets mixed up together. So it's sort of a gumbo of computers that I've built, and I just can't remember what it was. So normally what I do is I take a little index card and I'll write down what the CPU is and how much RAM is installed and what the make model of the NVMe drive is. And then I'll keep the index card just rested on top of the motherboard, because it's not conductive. It's not going to let cause any damage to the board or short circuit anything. And for some reason, probably because I was really busy, I did not make that index card. No, I'll do that now. Sometimes the reason why that happens is I'm in the middle of doing something and then the phone rings or an email comes in and it pulls me to a different direction. And then I'm like, okay, I need to clear the bench. I'll do this later, and it gets moved away, and then it sits there until I make time, like right now. to say, what was this? Where did I stop? I'm sure what I probably did was I probably updated the BIOS. I probably installed Windows 10. That's probably 16 gigs of RAM. And this chip will have integrated graphics on it. And the NVMe, I think, is an Intel 1 terabyte. So we'll find out. I like that the board does have the power button on it, so I don't have to hook up an external power switch like you're accustomed to seeing me do. Some of the more expensive motherboards have that feature specifically for overclockers, people that are constantly messing about with their system specifications, trying to eke out an ounce of performance or a gram of performance. It's very negligible these days that overclocking stability or having a stable overclock, it doesn't give you the 50 and 75% returns we used to get in the 90s. So for me, to get 10 or 15%, it's not worth it. The machines are already so fast. Getting an extra 10 or 15% suggests to me that you don't really use the computer for work, that you're just in it to mess around with it. And that's no crime, nothing wrong with it. I can't earn a living with that. So enjoy messing about with your system if that's what you choose to do. I have to stay in business. So I have to get through as many computers as quickly as possible. And it's finally slowed down to the point where I have this opportunity to bring this back out and put it in a case and finish it up. So I've got the power hooked up to it. I need to get a keyboard and a mouse plugged in, and we need to plug an HDMI cable into it. So we'll take care of that now. In fact, I'm sure I can plug an internet cable or Ethernet cable into it. Does this have built-in Wi-Fi? No, this one does not have built-in Wi-Fi. We have a display port and an HDMI port here. So we'll plug that in here and my Ethernet, and then let me grab a keyboard and a mouse, which of course I always keep over there. And then I need to get power to the power supply, and we can fire this bad boy up, see what it is, and see if there's any interest among you in the chat room, or if you're watching this video afterwards, you can email me. Mira Ora just became a supporter. Well, right on. Thanks for joining the club, Mira Ora. And did I miss other contributions? I'm sorry. I've been trying to get all my thoughts out here without distraction. Good luck, right? All right. Let's see. What have I missed? Oh, yeah, there's a few here. Mark Baggett with a $5 contribution, and Sinister21 with $4.99. Sinister says, I have been playing Galaga nonstop since buying the arcade upright 3 days ago. My girlfriend is looking for rehab centers to send me for treatment. Yeah, watch the blisters. Yeah, you'll start getting blisters. Let's see. Kuro Yukimi contributes $5. Kuro says, hey, Carrie, how have you been? The last name is Yukihime. Wow. I was completely off with that. Kuro Yukuhime. I'm going to have to repeat that a few times before it sinks in. So in the future, you might need to remind me. But thank you for offering the pronunciation to me, because I do my best to guess. And of course, thank you to all of you who have contributed, Kuro and Sinister and Mark. Thank you guys again. Oh, and then just now, Planet Cryos with 99 cents. And OG Gaming just became a supporter. Right on. Thanks, guys. All right, so let me get my power cable. Oh, it was already over on my side. That's not normal. Make sure the switch is in the off position for safety. We'll go ahead and plug that in and flip the switch to on, and then we'll go ahead and open the HDMI input. I think that's input number 4 over on the capture card here on the streamer. So bear with me for a second while I start that, and as you can see, it says there's no signal. What I have to do is just make that a little smaller. Where should I put it? I'll put it over here. And we'll tap the power button. Fan is spinning. Lights are lighting up. Diagnostic LED is going through a sequence of some hexadecimal codes. And then we should see something on the screen here anytime now, once it does its post. Oh, the LEDs are still cycling on the diagnostic LEDs. That's a good thing. You don't want to see it frozen on a particular code unless the post screen has appeared, in which case it should have a result code that stays the same from that point forward. Okay, well, now I'm getting some information that I can't see. It's too small on my screen, so let me just go a little bit larger on my side so I can determine what that says. Oh, well, it's already gone away. It's rebooted itself. I didn't catch what it said. There's $1 from Marty Yoel and $1 from Tom K. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Marty. And here we go. So that's the MSI post screen for this motherboard. I'm guessing it was training the CPU and RAM. It boots really quickly. I can't complain about that boot time. And tell you what, let's just go full screen on this so we can all see it a little bit better, and we'll see what the specifications are of the system. I can't read what that says. It's too far away. I think it's in 4K resolution, and I think that's why everything is so tiny. Oh, I didn't plug the keyboard and mouse in, so let me grab the wireless dongle. I forgot to do that. That explains why my mouse isn't moving. And I'm going to just step around. I'm just going to describe to you what I'm doing so I don't have to keep switching camera inputs back and forth. We plugged that little wireless Wi-Fi wireless dongle for the keyboard and mouse in. And now, there we go, now I can move it. And I want to go to display settings, and I want to drop this to 1920 by 1080 in the hopes that I'll be able to actually read it, because that is way too tiny for my eyes and the screen is too far away. That's a combination that's not good. All right, there's 1920 by 1080. And I want to bump the scale up a bit so I can hopefully read this better. That looks much better. And then that screen that was there has gone away. I see a blue, what is this? A blue icon down here. Windows 11 is ready and it's free. That's new. I've never seen this blue icon down here before. But I'm going to say stay on Windows 10 for now. That should answer any questions with regards to can it run Windows 11. Obviously it's fully capable. And we're missing some updates. I want to see what processor I've got. This is a Ryzen 5 3400G. We're using the integrated Radeon Vega graphics. It is 16 gigs of RAM. It says 13.9 is usable because this integrated graphics card needs memory. So it's taking what it needs from our available RAM. That's why you'll see that. If you have a discrete graphics card, you should not see this unless you have not disabled your onboard graphics in your BIOS. We are running 21H2 here, which is ideal. And as far as storage, let me take a quick look at what we have installed. It's 1 terabyte. And we'll go over to the hardware tab and it should tell us, yeah, it's an Intel. Could be a 660 or 665, I'm not sure, but they're interchangeable as far as I'm concerned. It wants to restart with this cumulative update preview, so we'll go ahead and do that and get an idea of how fast this thing boots. So, while that's running, oh, I guess I didn't make it full screen for you guys, did I? I made it full screen for me apparently, so, whoopsie. All right, if you have any questions about this rig, if you're interested in it, let me know in the chat. And we're just going to go ahead and go through the updates here. All right, so it appears we're back up and running, and let me go full screen on this. See, I thought I had it in full screen there earlier. Now it's full screen. Now you should be able to see it a lot better, and we'll go through those the specifications one more time in full screen. want you to see that I'm not hiding anything. It was full screen on my side, but not on yours. And we right click, go to properties. That's where we see the AMD Ryzen 5 3400G with Radeon Vega graphics, 16 gigs of RAM, 13.9 gig usable. Is this activated? Activation settings. See if Windows is activated. I've not activated Windows 10 on this yet. So I don't know where I left off with this build. That's normally something I do before I put them away. Again, for storage, because the screen was smaller, I'll show you, well, the screen's large here. Back over to properties. We've got a terabyte of storage. It's on the NVMe. Clicking on the hardware tab tells us the details of that NVMe drive. Of course, you can use third-party software like Crystal Disk Info, etc. But there's a lot of information that Windows provides to you where you don't need to be bloating up your system with these utilities. People seem to be addicted to utilities for some reason. Now, this does have, the motherboard has 2 additional power connectors on it, and I'm presuming that those are for people who are overvolting. So we only need to have the one 8-pin CPU power connector on it. If you want to hook up both CPU power connectors, we have to go to a more expensive power supply. But anything involving overclocking involves more money. Better coolers, an increase in instability as you isolate how safe of an overclock you can get where the system is stable. And a lot of that has to do with the power delivery and the cooling ability of the chip itself. It's going to impact artificial limits to the chip, not necessarily the limits of the chip. So we don't really know where the true overclock limit is unless we give it, you know, all the cooling we can possibly give it and all the power it could possibly want. If you're not overclocking it, you save all that money and you save all that headache. But again, some people find entertainment in that. So, well, we're back to the desktop. Let me go back to Windows Update. Wow, that's a cool shot. Let's go back to Windows Update and continue with whatever updates are missing. We'll download and install this update here. And then I'm going to go back to bringing this down a bit. And let me see if you have any questions for me in the chat room regarding the build, or out of curiosity, if you are in the United States, do you have an interest in purchasing this? I'd be very curious what your thoughts were. Jim says his wife's system has a 3400G. Mike Broden says hello. Marco says, I need my glasses. Yeah, I probably do, Marco. I probably do. There's Selden Bell joining us, and Starshine. Terry Zanders in the house. Stealth Mode and OG Gaming. Joe Harney. The chat being in slow mode simply means that no one is allowed to flood the chat room. You have to wait 6 whole seconds between sending messages. That shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. Anybody who needs to keep sending messages every second is drowning out everybody else. It's a very selfish, very rude thing to do. So by turning on the slow mode at a 6-second interval, it ensures everybody has an opportunity to speak and be heard virtually. Larry joins us. There's LRCX in the chat room. Welcome in, Larry. Good to see you. There's Barry Russ with a $2 contribution. And thank you, Barry. Let me just tune back over here real quick. I want to see where we're at. The screen is way too small for me to see, so I have to hit a button and make it go full screen so I can read it. It says it's downloading at 100%, and it's just kind of sitting there waiting for some process in the background to finish, and it'll start that install. That is an optional update. I like to grab all updates. That's just the way I am. This is letting you get a sneak peek of what's coming in the next, well, it may not be the next update from Microsoft, but in the future, this is intended to roll out as a mandatory update automatically. And so they roll it out to people when they think it's ready as an optional update. So you can kind of get an early start, an early jump on it. I've never had any negative results of jumping on these optional updates. I've never regretted it. It's never caused a problem. Or I should say the problems that have resulted have been so infrequent and so rare that I don't think twice about it. It's no big deal to roll it back out if we need to for any reason. So if we calculate the cost of the motherboard, the cost of the CPU, the cost of the RAM, and the cost of the storage, plus the cost of the power supply and the cost of the case, whatever case we decide to use. I mean, just ballparking it, the 3400G, just out of curiosity, the prices fluctuate like gasoline, constantly in flux. So if I go to Amazon and look up the Ryzen 3400G, it's a brand new chip. It's about $240, it looks like. The 3200G is $180, so you get that extra performance and the extra, I think there's more cores on the 3400G. So $238.95, I pay almost 10% in sales tax. That brings my cost an additional $20. So about $258, we round it up, we'll call it $260. So $260 on the CPU. The motherboard is this MSI Titanium X570. I don't think it's sold anymore, but let's take a quick look just to check. MSI Titanium X370. Of course, this is the gaming titanium, but yeah, sure enough, it's sold out. It's an older board, so everything's X470 now. I don't know what the price was. MSI Titanium X370. Let's just do a search on Google and hit the shopping tab and see what people are selling them for. I'm going to guess probably about $180. Let's take a quick look. I see them used at $140. I see one refurbished at $370, which is ridiculously overpriced. Oh, I speak again. There's one for $508.99 at Newegg. So the price, let's say it's $100. The CPU is, we'll call it $250. So we're at $350. 16 gigs of RAM is about $50, I want to say. So that's $400. And the 1 terabyte of storage should be about $100. So that's $500 without a case or a power supply or an operating system. If we average about $100 on a case, and on the low end for a 500 watt power supply is about $50. That's another $150, and then Windows, we can buy that for $20. That's $170 total plus the 500. That's looking at $670. And then for me to ship this across the United States is, depending on how far it's going, we'll just say it's $100. So altogether, that's what I say it was 500 plus 170, so the 670. It'd be just under $800. Remember, I'm paying sales tax on everything I'm showing you. I'm not getting it wholesale. I'm paying the same price as everybody else is. So I would be willing to knock that down to $600, including the shipping. And if you needed a bigger power supply, or you wanted more RAM, or you wanted more storage, then the price would have to adjust accordingly. David says he found the board for 150. I'm going to call it $100 on the board. So I think it's a really good deal. And if it motivates somebody that, you know, wants to reach out and buy a machine built by me, save you a little bit of money. I do take a financial loss on it, except the board was sent to me from Ryan, so it didn't cost me anything for the board. But I don't get any break on the shipping cost. You know, I have to pay to have it packed specially, and then I have to pay to have it shipped, and the cheapest shipping I can do is FedEx ground, at least if I want it to get there in one piece. I don't know. I might be negotiable on the price if somebody's not too far off the mark. If we're close, I'll move a little bit. I'd like to help people, but at the same time, I don't like being taken advantage of. So there's a fine line. I wouldn't go too cheap, because otherwise it'll end up costing me too much. It'll be too big of a loss for me. Now, there are cheaper cases. There's, you know, $50 cases. I could put it into a cheaper case, save $50. We could probably get it under $600, but we couldn't get it under $500. No way. Absolutely no way. Like I said, the shipping alone is going to be $100 by itself. That NVMe drive is $100 by itself. That chip is $240, and all of that's prior to sales tax. There's not much sales tax on the shipping, but on the actual parts there is. We're just using a stock AMD cooler here, nothing fancy, so that saves some money. So yeah, I'm kind of curious. What are your thoughts? You're out there watching. Jason says it seems fair. Well, I'm hoping the price seems better than fair. I'm hoping the price seems ridiculous, like ridiculously inexpensive. It doesn't make sense. If I have $800 and I'm offering to sell you $800 for $600, I don't think saying that's fair if you're the one who's going to give me $600 and I'm going to give you $800 back. That sounds like, you know, I'll take 10. It sounds like an unbelievable deal. This is not a used computer. Everything is brand new here. So, you know, I've spent more than that on a case. The Big Beast build had a $550 case that with sales tax was over $600. I'm going to grab another colder Gatorade. And like I said, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the value proposition of this, just to see if anybody's interested. I'm not desperate to sell it. I could easily sell it locally. I really don't want to sell it locally because I don't want to get caught up with support issues. Not that I believe it's going to have any. I wouldn't knowingly and willfully sell a machine that was going to be a nightmare for somebody. And I would also rather benefit one of my viewers than a complete stranger. But I can almost guarantee if I listed this for sale on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or somewhere like that, where I priced it all out, itemized it, explained it's all brand new, professionally built, and then, you know, took $200 or $250 off of it, I'm sure it would get snapped up very, very quickly. So I'm just trying something different here just to see what the what kind of responses I get, right? Because that's going to help guide the kinds of not only the kinds of videos that I make, but also I have lots of other hardware here, and if this works out well, then I'll do this with all, you know, one at a time. We'll go through all of it. So I realize we only have a fraction of viewers watching this video after it's live. Once it's completely done, we'll probably garner somewhere between 4,000 and 12,000 views in its first 7 to 10 days. That's pretty normal. And so the vast majority of viewers will be watching this after it airs live. And if you're one of those and you're interested, if it's still available or you want more information, please email me. Let me see if I can put my email address up on the screen for you guys. It's just my name, which you can barely see. Let me close out a couple of things here. If I turn off that and I reduce the size, no, not it. I have to go here. If I bring my size of my video down a little bit, you should be able to clearly see my email address. Now, if you're reaching out to say hello, you're probably not going to get a response. If you're, sending me links to things, I'm not really interested. A lot of the links people send me I've already seen. If you want to do anything other than establish or conduct business with me in a sincere inquiry, that's what that email address is for. And those emails, assuming I receive them, and assuming you have a valid return to address, I will respond to those, every single one of them. Anything outside of that just isn't enough time. My inbox gets flooded every single day. My phone, my Facebook messages, LinkedIn messages, it's just a nonstop flood. So what I'm trying to do is make sure the people who are trying to conduct business, first and foremost, have my attention. Any sincere inquiries are always welcome. When it comes to technical support, I offer whatever free technical support I can do during a live video. That's it. Technical support is something I make money from. So if you need personal, if you want my personal attention to help you solve a problem you're having outside of YouTube, there's a charge for that. And I've got other things going on anyway. So if you're discouraged, like, well, I don't want to pay, well, good, because I don't want to do it, because I got plenty of other things to do. But I do enjoy helping people. And we do have a lot of people in the chat room who are very knowledgeable with computers. So even just asking your question in the chat room, even if I don't see it or I don't have an answer, I'm sure several viewers probably will. Let me go back to the HDMI input, because that was waiting on a reboot, right? I think I just hit the restart. I can't really tell. Chris says that I look into a new vehicle. I did, and I'm going to get rid of the Mustang I bought. That, I bought it from Carvana. I thought the Carvana experience was going to be more pleasant. It turned into a nightmare, and I don't like the new Mustang. I thought I was basically getting the same car I had with more power, but apart from how it looks, it's a completely different car. And basically, I've come to the conclusion that it's not a good car for me to own. I can't really move computers around in it. It's very uncomfortable. And for practical reasons, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So the old Mustang also wasn't selling. So I ended up trading that in, and then I'm going to sell the new Mustang. Has less than 2,000 miles on it. As you can imagine, I'm going to take a bath on the financial loss on that, because I paid the full sales tax, which I'm not going to get back. The only way I could potentially get that back is to use it as a trade. What I've decided is I don't want the minivan. I don't want either of the Mustangs. I want one good car that I can use to haul equipment in, that I can use on road trips, that's a little bit higher up off the ground. That's the other thing, that Mustang is so low to the ground. There's a lot of debris in the roads in Phoenix, and especially if you take a road trip, I'm going to damage the front spoiler. It's just a matter of time. Get too close to a parking curb, a parking block, it's going to crack it. So I've been very, very cautious with how I park it. The car is like a race car that's street legal, this new Mustang. It's very difficult to keep it in stop and go traffic. It wants to keep lurching. And if you had a track that you could run this car on, it would be amazing on the track. But it's essentially a street legal race car. And I never test drove it, and I needed more than 7 days to evaluate, how much of me not liking the car was me getting used to it, and how much of it is just, it's not right for me. So it's taken a couple of months, and I've come to the conclusion it's not right for me. But getting some prices on it, it looks like I might lose somewhere around $9,000. It's not an easy pill to swallow, but half of that is sales tax. And then the other half is cost of delivering the car to me and the profit. Carvana is not a cheap place to buy cars. Carvana won't even offer to buy it back at anywhere near what I paid. They were the lowest offer. I thought they'd want it back, you know. So instead, a nice, comfortable, small SUV that's extraordinarily reliable, that I can haul computers in and I can take on road trips. That's far more practical, and if it has all the bells, whistles, and features to be in luxury, I would much rather have that than have power, especially because Phoenix is so congested. You can't really have any open road for more than 2 or 3 seconds, and that's if you're lucky. So having all that power, you can't really use it here. It's just way too crowded. So the Lexus NX appears to be the right car for me, and then that'll be my only car. As you can imagine, if you price together a new Lexus and that new Mustang, it's a scary amount of money. And well, I could perhaps tighten my belt and do a little extra work to pay for both of them. I still have to pay to insure them. I still have to pay for maintenance on both of them. And it just doesn't make any sense. It's only gonna, whatever my loss is gonna be now, it's only gonna be more the longer I wait. I also only have room in the garage for one car, which means one car sits out in 110 plus degree weather, which is fine for a little while, but over time it's going to damage the interior and the paint. It also makes it very discouraging if you've got to get in the car in the middle of the afternoon after it's been sitting out in the sun baking all day. It'll literally burn your hands. It'll scald you. Touching the steering wheel, you know, you kind of have to start it and let the AC run a little bit. Roll the windows down and get some air blowing through it. So that's likely where that's going. I just haven't had time to deal with all of it. But I've been shopping the Mustang around. I've never done this before. Had I test driven that Mustang, I probably wouldn't have bought it. So here I am with it. It's not going to kill me to keep it, but I think it would be one less stress for me to get rid of it. I don't need it. CCTV says gas prices are soaring. Gas prices aren't really that bad. From our perspective as Americans, we think it's a lot of money. Europeans have been paying this price for over 10 years. You know, Europeans are rolling their eyes and going, oh, these darn Americans are so whiny. They don't know how good they've got it. Gas is going to be expensive for a while. But gas is the cheapest part of owning a car. This idea that people were used to paying $3 or less, or where were we? We were certainly under $4 for a long time. And it resulted in just a lot of people going nowhere, just gallivanting around. It's not good for the environment. It's already overly congested on the streets. And if higher gas prices will encourage people to drive less unless they really need to go somewhere, I think the higher gas prices are good. I think it's a good thing. You know, if I'm spending $60 to fill my tank when the gas was cheaper, and I'm spending $70 or $80 now, it's a $10 to $20 difference. It really doesn't make a difference. I'm not filling up more than twice a month, so that's an insignificant change. It doesn't bother me one bit. I'm grateful that it's as cheap as it is. You know, go spend some time in Europe. Go spend some time in Britain. Go to Sweden, go to Finland, go to Norway, go to Germany. Tell me about the gas prices, and then come back here and tell me how terrible our prices are. Now, I wouldn't buy an RV, right? A recreational vehicle, a portable house. That'll cost you $800 to $1,000 if you needed to fill a tank from empty. That's too rich for my blood. Marty says, Kerry, can I have a free PC? You already got one, Marty. Marty got a free PC. Paul1961 said, gas is over $9 a gallon in Winnipeg, Canada. Yeah, but that's Canadian dollars, so what's that, like $2 American? It's not that bad. That's probably on par with what we're paying, though. A Canadian dollar isn't worth as much as an American dollar. And the same is true with Australia currency as well. So keep that in mind. Also, how you guys measure a gallon, I think you measure it the same way the British measure, and the gallon is bigger in England, and Canada follows a lot of the English stuff. I think it's called an imperial gallon, so it's not the same size. So when you talk about how many miles per gallon you get and how much it costs you, you're making a false assumption that your gallon is the same and that the currency value is the same. Usually when we do the math, they're pretty darn close once you accommodate for those things. But generally, the Americans are paying less, but it's not that much less currently. It was before all this, but currently it's not that much. It's less, but not that much. Okay, 3.8 liters to 1 U.S. gallon. Okay, yeah, and they buy gas by the liter literally everywhere in the world but in America, but they still tell you how many miles per gallon they get, right? They don't say, here's how many miles per liter I get. I talk to people from England all the time. They talk about how many miles per gallon. Is it the gallon that's different, or is it the mile that's different? One of those is measured differently. I can't remember. So that it's not an exact comparison. Regardless, it is what it is, and we deal with it. But that minivan had to go. I've been using it way too much, and it sent a message to me, like, when there's a choice between taking the beat up old hoopty minivan versus the shiny new powerful Mustang, I very rarely drive the Mustang because it's just inconvenient. A lot of times I need to move computers, I need to move large boxes that are shipped to me. When a customer ships me a computer and it's sent to Studio A, it's in a box much bigger than the Mustang can hold, even if I wanted it to. The minivan, I just toss it in there. So it's like, okay, well, the minivan's from 2007. It's been driven hard. So it was only intended to be a temporary vehicle. And now that I realize, I used to use my Blazer for all of the equipment moving. And without the Blazer, I had nothing to move equipment in. I thought, I can put a desktop in the trunk of the Mustang, but when you turn or accelerate or brake too fast, it slides in the trunk and it scratches up the whole inside of the car and potentially scratches up the computer itself if it slams against the edges or front or back of the car, of the trunk rather. It marks up the desktop. And I don't want to deliver a computer scratched up unless that's the way I picked it up. So likely that's going to happen here. Hopefully before the end of the month I'll have all those other cars gone and just have the one car, one option, make my life easy, one car to maintain, one car to buy tires for. And if everything they say about Lexus and Toyota is true, and I've never owned a Lexus or a Toyota before, it should be maintenance free or relatively maintenance free. That's the thing I kept bragging about with my old Mustang that made it hard for me to let it go, was it never needed a repair, except right there at the end, had a little teeny tiny crack in the plastic antifreeze reservoir tank. Not a major deal. And it was so minor, it probably had that for about 2 years because I kept smelling something coming from the engine compartment, but I could never find it. The dealer could never find it. It never left a puddle. But Subaru Mike found it, and it's a $90 part. Super easy to change out. He swapped it out. We listed it for sale. We had a lot of people calling and asking, a lot of people lowballing, which really upset me. There's people that like to take advantage, right? So they see the cars available for 2 weeks and they think, well, you still have it. You'll be desperate and you'll be willing to take a lowball offer. Some of the ridiculousness of people is crazy. One guy wanted to buy my interior. He said, I'll buy the interior and I'll give you my gray interior because I don't like the gray. And I'll give you $500. There's nothing wrong with the car. Why would I switch the interior out? Then you got to change out the back seat. The door panels also match. And then the back area has panels, I think it has panels that match. And who's going to do the work, and are the seats going to be compatible? Do they have all the seat heaters and motorization and everything that the seats I have? And basically I was like, wondering what drugs this guy was on. Like, if you don't like the gray interior, what makes you think I want it? And if this was a car in a junkyard and you wanted to rip the seats out of it, that's one thing. But to say that the car is meticulously maintained and in good shape, kind of, this guy read that and didn't mean anything to him and thought, well, you can still have the car, just let me swap out the interior and give you $500 and I'll do the work. Yeah, like, I'm going to trust him to do a good job. He could break my car, he could strip out the bolts, he could fail to connect things back up. You think he's going to tell me? Why would I do that? And so I just had enough, and I said, I'll take it to a dealer and trade it in. And so that's what I did. It's gone. It was a hard car to let go, I got to tell you. The day I took it to trade it in, 2 people called and said, I've got the cash, I'll buy it today. 2 people that had previously been hemming and hawing, couldn't make up their mind. So the first one called, I said, it's too late, it's sold. And then while I'm signing the contract, the second call comes in. Guy says, I got the money, I'll head over. I said, don't bother, it's already gone. Guy's like, I was going to call you yesterday. I said, I wish you had, because I'd have much rather sold it that way than traded in. I would have gotten a little bit more money. But 1 down, 2 to go. David Starbuck says he's got a Corvette and a Prius. My garage is bipolar. I totally get it. In fact, this Mustang is closer to being a Corvette than it is being a Mustang. Like, my V6 Mustang was a very civil, comfortable, elegant car. This new Mustang is a street legal race car. It is squirrely, very squirrely. It's like getting in. You ever seen the inside of a NASCAR? It's just stripped rare. You ever try and drive one? You should try and drive they have NASCAR simulators. You should try and drive one. And if you have the ability to drive in one or drive an actual race car, that's pretty darn close to how this Mustang rides. You're going to feel everything. It's very uncomfortable. It's hard to believe people want this and they pay top dollar for it. For the same money, I can have a more practical vehicle, hatchback, 4 doors, higher off the ground, known for reliability, probably equal in keeping its value. The V8 Mustangs are known for keeping their value. The only problem is that I just bought it, so I'm going to take a hit on it. But the question is, how much do I want to lose, right? If I sell it now, I cut my losses. If I wait and enjoy the car a little bit, take it out on the weekends, I could certainly do that, but I'll still be making that insurance payment every month. I'll be adding more miles to the clock, which reduces the value somewhat, and then my losses continue to accumulate as I'm spending more for both gas and insurance. So I'm going to have to suck it up and eat that loss. I knew that was a risk when I bought the car. I knew there was a chance I may not like it. So now the worst has happened. I don't like it. And I can say, well, if I had known then what I know now. But that's not how life works, and the experience is going to cost me. And that's the cost of education. I know now, and as long as I don't do that again anytime soon, I'll be okay. But it's not financially moving me in the direction of getting a house in Michigan, right? That just added to my burden. But, so can an unexpected emergency if you have to go to an emergency room, So can an unexpected accident. Somebody could hit you, it's not even your fault, and you could be in it for thousands. So I keep telling myself that anyway, and trying to find a silver lining in it. Arnold says his Duramax has a 132-liter tank. It'll cost me $260 to fill it up, and at 20 liters, or 100 kilometers, that's roughly 500-kilometer range. Not good. Wow. But assuming you need the ability to tow, I would imagine. Gentle Jack said he used to live in Michigan, in Cadillac. He grew up there. Not the best place where I lived. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to Cadillac, Michigan. I've been to Pontiac. Of course, I've been to most of the Detroit suburbs. I was born and raised in Detroit, so I'm very familiar with that part of Michigan. But never went to Cadillac. Gentle Jack says now he is in Arizona. Jim says time to buy electric. I'm concerned about electric. I'm not quite sold on it yet for the amount that I drive. Certainly don't have the patience to sit in the car for 20 or 30 minutes to recharge during a road trip. For local driving, which is 95% of what I do, I'm sure I probably wouldn't drive it more than 60 or 80 miles on any given day. And even then, I wouldn't do that more than 3 times a week. So the range-wise, that would be fine. However, as much as I want the Tesla, too much money. You know, even the Lexus is cheaper than the Tesla. And I still run into the practicality concerns unless I get a Model X. And then we're looking at $100,000. And if I'm going to spend $100,000 on a car, I think I'd rather have the electric Hummer, but you can't have one if you want one. You know, ask me about it next year. So I need something in the meantime, and I just never intended to have the minivan that long. And it took me a while for me to realize I keep taking the minivan. For various reasons, I take it. And the Mustang sits. Whether it was the new Mustang or the old one, they're garage queens. They just sit in the garage. What a complete waste of money. You know, if you're not using it, get rid of it. Unless you have a lot more money than me, in which case, you know, collect away. But that's a very expensive collection to start. I'm not Jay Leno. David said hybrid's the way to go. So the problem with hybrid is you probably would be good for 8 to 10 years. But when they go, they get super expensive, and trying to find parts right now is very difficult. So like the RAV4 hybrids, you know, Chevy just dropped the price on the Chevy Bolt, which is an ugly, ugly car. But they had a big battery recall, essentially had to recall all of them, and now they've lost the public trust. So they're offloading or unloading these Chevy Bolts at about $26,000, brand new. But even then, I wouldn't pay for it. It's just way too ugly. The Ioniq, is it the Ioniq? From Hyundai, and then there's the Polestar from Volvo. Those are much more attractive cars. I think the Ioniq, is it the Ioniq? Has the fastest charging system. But I had such bad luck with Hyundai, I'm not interested in owning another one. So keep me with good old-fashioned internal combustion engines for now. And then later, perhaps when I have a place where I'm in Michigan and I have a proper studio set up and I'm settling in and I have the new car paid off and I want something for general running around in a couple years. And I'm sure the battery technology will improve, and I'm sure the prices will also improve on the electrics. DJ Matrix said he's got 210,000 on my 2015 Prius C going strong. So the Prius would be the only exception to the hybrid model that starts to get expensive after 10 years. I've heard a lot of good things about the Prius holding up over a decade. If I wasn't planning on keeping a car as long as I do, it would be less of an issue for me. But I always buy a car like it's going to last me, you know, for at least 10 years. So, you know, look, if I'm doing financially better and I can afford to buy a new car simply because I want one after 3 or 4 years, wouldn't that be a great lifestyle to have? But I'm not assuming that's going to happen, and I'm settling in on practicality and what makes the most sense, where I'm trying to get everything I want in one car. As a result, I'm not going to get the performance, and I'm not going to get the sportiness of it, but I am going to get comfort, I'm going to get luxury, I'm going to get gadgets galore. I like the idea that, you know, the steering wheel electronically moves back and up, and the seat moves back when you unbuckle the seatbelt, so you can get in and out of the car easier. I like the idea that I can, you know, load up computers and not worry about them sliding around. I like that I can fold the rear seats down if I'm hauling something bigger. And, you know, it's just kind of an all-around jack of all trades car, and I think that'll be a great experience, and I'll see if my experience with Lexus is everything everybody says it is. Ian McLeod says, my friends think I'm strange because I will only drive a stick shift. Yeah, well, the automatic transmission in the Mustang is a 10-speed that can shift faster than any human being can. You're 0 to 60 times much, much faster with the automatics. However, there's been a number of stories where millennial generation of car thieves have broken into cars and tried to steal them and didn't know how to drive a stick and couldn't get them moving. So that oftentimes they refer to a stick shift as a millennial anti-theft device for your car. Forget the alarm, forget, disabling the ignition. Just have a stick shift, and these millennial thieves don't know how to make the car go, which is, I think, hilarious. Hey, there's Marvin Jameson in the chat. Welcome in, Marvin. Get a new DeLorean. Yeah, so the problem with the new DeLorean, and they do sell new ones. This place bought all the old parts and they sell them out of Texas. The problem with that is you're really going to stick out. And the problem with sticking out is, well, when I had my Mini Cooper, I had these graphics along the side of it that were very unique, very cool. And I was driving to Michigan in it, and I'm on the Interstate 40, which is in northern Arizona, heading towards New Mexico. And my cell phone rings, and this is, back in like 2010, 2011, and it's this guy I know in the Mini Cooper Club, and he says to me, are you driving eastbound on the I-40 right now? Like, yeah, how could you possibly know that? He said, because I'm driving westbound, and I saw the graphics you have on your car, and that's the only car in the world that looks like that. So I thought I'd call you and see if, in fact, that was you. And that made me really nervous. Well, on the one hand, it's kind of amusing. On the other hand, it's a little bit scary. If anybody's looking for me, they just have to look for my car. If there's an incident that happens on the roadway between me and another vehicle, if that other vehicle ever sees my car again, they'll remember that's the guy that, whatever grudge they might be holding, and they might be in a generic F-150 that looks like all the other. I would never know. Why is this guy tailgating me and acting aggressively around me? Because he remembers an incident that occurred weeks earlier, and that's such a unique looking car. So if it was a DeLorean, I'd be right back in the same place where I won't be able to blend in anymore. So I need a car that I can blend in on. I don't want to stand out where if you see the car, it's such a unique vehicle, or the graphics on the side of it, something about the car is very unique, that ruins any anonymity that I have and is a potential security concern. And I could have peeled the graphics off. They're just vinyl stick-on graphics on the Mini Cooper, but I really liked how it looked. But it came with a consequence that I never thought about before, and it was very disconcerting, for somebody to be completely on the other. The I-40 is a huge divided freeway. There's a giant median, huge. So for somebody going the opposite direction, and we're probably traveling 75, 80 miles an hour, so we're approaching combined at 160. Right? Their speed plus my speed, and that's enough time for them to look across the median, all the way across a football width, and say, oh, that must be Carrie. That's disconcerting. It really, really bothered me. So if I had a DeLorean, it would probably just sit, and I would drive it on a weekend, and I'd mostly just drool over it, and I'd be afraid to park it anywhere, and I'd be afraid of people wanting to touch it, and I'd be afraid of people all wanting to talk to me. So, yeah. But I do love a DeLorean. I do love that car. It's gorgeous. The inside of it's not so good. It hasn't aged well on the interior. But boy, that exterior, it still looks like a modern car. Hey, there's my friend Ron joining us. Welcome in, Ron. Carrie, have I ever ridden a motorcycle? I did ride a motorcycle, not regularly, just for fun, and I almost tipped the bike over and I stuck my leg out like I would on a bicycle, and I took the whole weight of the motorcycle down onto my leg, and it really hurt. So I was limping for about 2 weeks after that, and that's the last time I've ridden a motorcycle. I'm like, it's not worth it. Something so simple, so minor, and it just hurt for 2 weeks, and I'm just chalked it up as be lucky and be grateful that it wasn't worse. If I'd have let the bike drop, it would have cost a lot of money for the damage it would have done. So I was screwed either way. If I lived in a town that wasn't as congested, I could see getting a scooter or something for fun to just do local little errands. But in Phoenix, people don't pay attention. People are hitting pedestrians on a sidewalk, for crying out loud. So and I mean daily, by the way, and they usually quite often don't stop. A lot of hit and runs. A lot of people are killed that way, and it happens at least once a day, every day, nonstop. It's been that way for years. That's Phoenix. So you really have to protect yourself. It is a little like entering a bit of a war zone when you get on the roads. Some people are in a bad mood. They're very aggressive. Some people aren't paying attention. They're playing with their phones while they're driving. It's entering a battlefield in Arizona. So at least in Phoenix. Now, if I was somewhere a bit more rural, a bit more isolated, I'd have a complete different attitude about it. A place like that, I'd be able to open up the Mustang and enjoy it. If it had some windy mountain roads, the Mustang would be very happy there. So just looking back in the chat room, I don't know. What do you think I should? What case do you think I should use on this system here? I know I can go with the regular 200R and slap it together quick. But I do have a white computer case sitting over there. What is that? Oh, that's the 4000D. That was sent in by Bob Connor. I haven't seen Bob in the chat room in a while. Hope he's doing okay. We tried to move Marvin's hardware, or his motherboard, into that case, and it was too small. But that, I'm pointing at it like you can see it. The 4000D, with the white case with the white motherboard, and it's Corsair, so there's cable management should be pretty easy. And it's already unboxed. It's just sitting there waiting. Maybe I should do that. Let me take a quick look one more time at Windows Update and make sure that I did grab all the updates. I hate this stupid thing down here. Go over to search, turn off search highlights, and back over to Windows Update. Skip that. Scroll down to Updates and Security, and check for updates. I'm hesitant about picking a case only because if somebody reaches out to me and says they're interested in it, but they don't want that white case, they want it in a different case, then I'll have to undo all my work. So I'd rather do it once and do it right. But I think that 4000D is going to be a nice choice for this. What are your thoughts? Kelly Stewart says, try an NZXT white A500. Kelly, I'm buried in parts, and I've got a lot of cases lying around, even a couple of deep cool cases that are also white. So I don't want to go and purchase another case. I want to use what I have. So I have a number of 200Rs. I have the deep cool cases. I've got the white Be Quiet case. I've got that Antec case that we ended up using on Marvin's old parts. I've got so many cases here. Most of them have never been taken out of the box. So I don't want to buy any cases. Keep the 200R for business clients, put this in a non-boring case. Make the case match the Mustang and package it together. For what the Mustang's going to cost, the computer could be thrown in at no additional charge. What does a 200R look like? Just go to Google and type in 200R and hit the images button and you'll see. Oh, the BIOS update. John Bird is reminding me. BIOS update and chipset drivers. Thank you for reminding me. Let's take a quick look. So when I put that chip in, I had to update the BIOS, and that wasn't that long ago. But AMD can update quite often, or rather the motherboard manufacturers that make the boards for AMD tend to have more updates than Intel does. So let's check it. Let's go back to full screen on the computer side of things here. And let's take a look. We'll close this out. And I'm going to grab my utilities flash drive and we'll plug that in here real quick. Just stepping around to the back of the computer, or to the back of the board rather. So I can plug my flash drive in and we'll run CPU Z, which I have right here, CPU Z. Just drag that over. I'll run Crystal Disk Info just so I can get the exact model of Intel NVMe drive. It's either a 660 or a 665. It's more trivia than it is anything critical. Doesn't tell us here either. Let me get my glasses and read the darn thing. Well, you know what? I can't with the heat shield over it. I'll figure that out later. Not important. Let's go back to checking our BIOS version. Main board is running 1.02, is that right? That seems pretty low. Dated 5, so May 10th. So that's just last month. That's not even a month ago. Let's take a quick look and check anyway. And we'll go to Google. And I'll type in MSI X370 X Power Gaming Titanium BIOS. Right there. That's the link I want. That's fine. BIOS. 5/10 of 2022. So that is the latest BIOS, 102. It's interesting that's an O and not a 0. See how wide that is? It's very odd. Yeah, so it does have the latest BIOS, and I'm sure it'll have the latest AMD chipset driver, but you know, it couldn't hurt to put another one on there. Go to the AMD site here just from a Google search. We're looking for chipsets, X570, which is socket AM4, sorry, X370, 370. Hit submit. We want our Windows 10 version. That is from March 14th. So if I updated the BIOS in May, I would have also done these same drivers, but I'll show you what happens if you go, well, yeah, see I have the parenthesis 1. That means I've already downloaded this file and it's still sitting in the downloads directory. Yeah. So we've already done this. So it's all good. Everything is current and up to date. So I can close that out and we can shut this down. I think we're good to go there. And then we'll switch back over to the main camera so you can see me again. And now that this is off, I can reach over and unplug my flash drive. I'm done with that for now. So what I'll do is let me get everything unplugged and I'll get the case up here and show you what that looks like. Go ahead and get this power supply disconnected so I can move this motherboard off to the side. Okay, so we'll put that just right there for now. Put this back down here. And here's what I'm thinking. So I have this 4000D. It's over here. Bear with me while I grab it. So that's the Corsair 4000D. It's got a glass panel here. It's got the shroud for the power supply. Nice little cover here for hiding your cabling. This is not the mesh version, so it draws air in off the sides. The back has room for two 3.5-inch drives here, two 2.5-inch drives there. I won't be using either of those for the build. We're just going to use the NVMe drive. And I think combining this motherboard with this case is going to be a nice match. Also, with the fan being black and this fan being black, the black and white look, I think, is a no-brainer here on this one. But this is also a $100 case. Might even be $110. So it's not cheap, and if I'm trying to keep the price low, well, there's a certain additional cost to color matching things. So it really depends on the buyer. I'm reluctant to actually put this together right now because I am concerned that someone's going to reach out to me and want to buy it, and they're going to want to spend as little as possible. Most frequently, I have customers calling me who really cannot afford a new computer, and they're trying to kind of force it, right? They're saying, look, I have $500, what can you build me? Like, I could sell you something used, but I don't have anything for $500. So, you know, that's the vast majority of people that ask me to build computers. Probably 60%, more than half, simply don't have the budget. And there's nothing I can do. Like, I tell them, go price the parts at Newegg or Amazon or PC Part Picker, and let me know what numbers you come up with, because I don't see any way to get there based on what you want. And I'm trying to emphasize to them, it's not me. I'm not charging. You know, I'm making on a build like this, I'll lose money, in fact. But I try and bring them down to reality and say, look, I mean, if you can find a computer that has the specs you want at that price, buy it. But I don't know where you could possibly get a deal like that. So I'm concerned that the majority of people that are going to reach out to me about this are going to, you know, be doing so for spending as little as possible. And I don't want to, you know, be put in a situation where I have got a way. It's like, let's say we put this all together today, and somebody calls and says, I don't want to spend $100 for the case. You know, put it in a $50 case. Doing the disassembly and reassembly in another case, it will cost me $125 in labor. So then I'll be more likely to go, well, I'll sell it to you for the same price because it's already in there, right? I don't want to put myself in that position. I'm already discounting it enough. So I think I'm going to wait until I hear from, we'll give an opportunity for people to watch this video and reach out to me at my email address if they're interested. Use the subject computer build or computer and let me know, You have to be in the United States. And if it ends up getting sold to somebody, don't fret. That'll be a good thing, because then I'll just go through some of the other prep motherboards I have and repeat this. I've got a couple other AMD systems, but this, and then there's about 3 or 4 Intel-based boards that are already prepped and ready to go. If this one, shows interest, then we'll repeat that another 3 or 4 times. So you'll have an opportunity if this one slips by you. On the other hand, if nobody reaches out and nobody is interested, I'll just put it together the way I want to, and I'll sell it locally. And I might try this again with an Intel build just to see if it's consistent. But just want to try something new, try a different experiment, and give you guys an opportunity to be able to purchase a machine from me. A lot of people inquire about it, but most people can't afford it. For whatever reason, either they don't have the money or they won't spend the money. And usually I sell them at cost, right? It's cost plus the shipping. It's all real cost. So when people say it's too much money, I'm like, well, I'm not even making any money on it. How is it possible that's too much money? It'd be like me going to a Rolls-Royce dealership and going, well, your cars are too much money. The dealership's going to say you probably shouldn't be looking at a Rolls-Royce then, right? It's the only difference is Rolls-Royce is making a lot of money. I'm not. In this case, I would lose some money, significant. I'd lose about $200 to $300 on it. And if that isn't enough to entice somebody to reach out and make an offer, I'm okay with that. I'm not desperate. I'm very curious. And I'm motivated to get the stuff out of the house. All right, so as long as we're not committed to anything yet, everything's flexible. RAM can be changed, solid state drive can be changed. We can put Windows 11 on instead of Windows 10. It hasn't been activated, so we have no issues with any of that. There's no additional expenses as far as that goes. And there's no additional labor involved if I don't have to take it all back apart and put it all back together again. I'm busy enough. I don't need extra work. As for the drive, I was going to look and see if that's an Intel 660 or 665. It says it's a 665. Yeah, that's a 665. I just don't like the way that sits. It's really weird. I mean, the heat shield can just come off altogether. It really doesn't do much. It's mostly for aesthetics, for looks. Kelly Stewart says, Carrie, please check your phone. All right, Kelly. We can also see if any emails have come in here. Let's take a look at what's been going on with my phone. $23.95 from Aflobi Arawalo in London. Thank you for that. Afolabi? $26.45 comes from Paul Shadell. He says, thanks for the great videos. Thank you, Paul. Where's Paul at? Paul is in Winnipeg. Robert Smigaliski sent Robert Smigaleski has sent a request for $100. So instead of contributing, they sent me an invoice. I don't know if you meant to do that, Robert. The PayPal site defaults to creating an invoice versus sending a payment. So you sent me an invoice for $100 from PayPal. $50 Amazon gift card from Kelly Stewart, and a $10 Amazon gift card from Don Dry. Kelly and Don, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you, and appreciate your support. I don't see any messages coming in regarding the computer from people that are watching live. So we'll see how this video, what response it gets as viewers who aren't here now get an opportunity to watch it. I've had people still submitting entries for the router giveaway that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, that giveaway ended weeks ago. You know, be sure you subscribe to the channel so that you're not falling so far behind, you're missing these great opportunities. I don't know what else to say regarding that. There's not much more I can do. If people don't subscribe, or they don't turn on their notifications, or they don't configure their notifications, they eventually find my videos days or weeks after they're made, and then often whatever was a giveaway or a subject of something for sale has already been done. And that's unfortunate. So I know I have to give videos like this some time for people to catch up, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, it's not a I'm not in a financial bind or anything like that. I'm not desperate. I just really want to move things out the door. That's all. And every computer I get out the door is one less obstacle in my path. And once they're all out, I'm going to feel a lot better, because I'm being outnumbered in this house. Computers outnumber me by about 30 to 1. Dr. Bill contributes $5. Thank you, Dr. Bill. And $7.77 comes in from Alan Lindas. He says, your Gatorade needs a cold refill. Well, thank you, Alan. And I agree. I've been feeling it. It's kind of on the edge of not quite room temperature, but not chilly, not cold. If it's not cold, it's not refreshing. So let me take you up on that, and we'll grab an ice cold Gatorade here, and we'll plan on wrapping this video up, and I'll wait to complete this until I get an interested buyer, or I don't get an interested buyer, and then I'll make my, I was going to say make my decision, or have my decision made for me and proceed accordingly. So this video isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't how I had this plan in my head. I was going to finish it off, but the more I think about it, I better just wait. But at least I can confirm all the hardware that's currently on it. Things can be changed if the customer wants to change them, and the price be adjusted accordingly. So the discount primarily applies because I have the parts already. I don't want to have to go and buy any more parts. As I said, I want stuff going out. I don't want any more coming in unless it's repairs. If you have a computer that needs repair and you're in the United States, reach out to me at the email address I displayed earlier, and let me know about the problem you're having. Tell me a bit about the computer. Is it a desktop? Is it a laptop? It has to be running Windows 10 or Windows 11. If it's anything else, I can't work on it. I need to know what the problem is. I don't want you to diagnose the problem. I want you to explain what the symptom is and when it started, and anything you might have tried that hasn't resolved it. And we'll see if I can work with you and help you out. Certainly makes for good content on the channel. Sometimes the cost of shipping is a bit prohibitive for a lot of people. It can cost about $100 to ship a computer across the states. Of course, the further away you are from Arizona, the more that's going to cost. And then, of course, the likelihood for damage if you don't ship it correctly when you send it to me. I guarantee I'm going to ship it correctly and pack it correctly when I ship it back to you. But we certainly had a number of machines that have not been packed correctly that arrived with further damage, which of course I'll take care of it. But those are things that are discouraging for people to want to send computers in that way. If you're local to the Phoenix area, that's ideal. I can run over and pick up the machine, bring it back, do the diagnostic and repair video, and then deliver it back to you. That way I can keep Studio B still a hidden location. David Hill says, Carrie, I put the 970 Pro in my XPS 159570 after your last video you made. It works great now, and thanks for the help. Right on. Yeah, it's I've got the Sabrent 4 terabyte NVMe drive in my Dell XPS 9570, and how long has it been in there now? 2 years? Anyway, it's running great. And then there's the new one, the white one that I bought, that I upgraded that as well. And I haven't had any time to finish the conversion moving from one laptop to the other. It's been sitting. So I need to make some time and finish that conversion off. But for now, it's like a spare. It's like a spare laptop. So if something should happen to mine, I can immediately jump over to the other one. Stealth Mode says, let me talk to the wife. We need a PC for my daughter for school for next year. Yeah, like I said, if we can help each other out, that's great. I'm just trying to make it very clear that my motivation is to get the computers out of the house. It's not really so much about the money as it is about me freeing up some room. But it's too expensive for me to give away. Michael Dane says, I've been having some problems with PayPal. I want to make sure you got your $10. Well, today? Just now? Yes. Yeah, $10 comes in from Michael Dane. Someone from New Mexico has reached out inquiring about the computer, so that's a good start. And then I'll respond to you if you're watching right now. I'll respond to you when the video's over, and we can work out any details. And if don't let that discourage you if you're watching. Like I said, if the deal doesn't go through for any reason, or the deal does go through, I've got other builds that are prepped like this, where I've got the motherboard, the chip, the heatsink, the RAM, and the solid state drive already all installed. And those are Intel, I think there's a 9th gen, a 10th gen, and an 11th gen. So I have at least 3 of them back there. And I will do the same exact thing. I'll take a $200 to $300 loss on them as my way of showing thanks to my viewers and give them an opportunity to get a really good deal, and at the same time clear the space so I have a little more elbow room in here. All right, so don't be discouraged if you're watching the video a month from now and this is the first you've seen it. Still reach out to me. This is the business I'm in. I usually always have something. Patrick said it cost him $250 from New York to mail a computer to me from New York via FedEx Ground. There were 2 computers though, weren't there? Weren't there 2 computers in one box? Am I remembering that incorrectly? Okay, any final questions? We're at, how long are we been on? We've been on for just shy of 2 hours. So I've been wanting to keep my videos around 2 to 3 hours, my live ones. So we have 10 minutes. Any final questions or anything else you want to discuss? Let's do so and wrap it up here in 10 minutes. Patrick said he sent 1 computer and extra parts and goodies. Yeah, well, that added quite a lot of weight to that box, and it made the box have to be bigger. So that's not normal to need to spend $250. For the most part, you can pay FedEx to pack the computer for you, provide the box, provide the packing, and pay for the ground shipping with insurance for right around $125, $120 from New York. When you think about the distance between Arizona and New York, it's not much different distance-wise from New York to London. In fact, just out of curiosity, let me Google distance New York to London. That's 3,459 miles from New York to London. Let's do New York to Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, it's 2,400 miles, so it's 2/3 less. It's not as bad as I thought. What about New York to Washington State? Because that's even further than Phoenix from New York. That's 2,780 miles. So what if we say Miami? Let's go from one corner of the United States to the exact opposite corner. Miami to Washington State, 3225 versus New York to London is 3459. It's pretty close. Anyway, so Phoenix to New York, it's what I say, 2,400 miles. That's a long way to ship a computer, and then I have to ship it back. So round trip, we're looking at about 5,000 miles. Crazy, huh? Michael says he's planning to move out to the Kingman, Arizona area within the next year. Or you're going to live out in the boondocks. That's Kingman is a town that people in Phoenix drive through on their way to Vegas or Laughlin. It's very, what's the word? Rural. I'm used to living in the big city, and you go to Kingman, and you know where the freeway or the highway goes through Kingman. That's the biggest part of the city. Everything else is just desolation. But that's from my perspective of being in Phoenix. A little bit too backwoods for me, but I've never lived there. My friend Ron said there's some great striper fishing in the Colorado River a few miles from Kingman. Yeah. Robert Simon says he drives through Kingman on his way to Vegas from Kansas. I didn't know that. Robert says, Kerry, you would think Wichita is a small town. Well, I probably would. Kansas City sure wasn't, I'll tell you that. Kansas City was a lot bigger than I remembered it when I drove through it last year. William Grayson with a $2 contribution. He says, sorry, Kerry, I don't have much to spend. Thank you. It's all good, William. It's all good. I appreciate your support. Am I going to take you to Michigan this year? CCTV user wants to know. Yes, of course. Maybe I'll be able to broadcast from a new house there. Otherwise, I'll just go to my regular place and stay at my regular place and do my regular thing. But I am hoping to have a house between now and then. That'll be around middle of September. I usually go out to Michigan around the middle of September. Dom Long says, I'm from Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania. It's about 45 minutes from Philadelphia. Yeah, I've never heard of it. Let me scroll up. It looks like I might have missed a couple questions here, and we're starting to run out of time. Arnold wants to know, I got a notification to update Windows 11 version 21H2. Oh, to update Windows version 21H2 to Windows 11. I don't want Windows 11. So the boys in chat offered suggestions. What do you think? Yeah, you can just click the box. When you go to Windows Update, just like I showed on this board, it offered us Windows 11. Didn't you just watch me do that? If not, you can rewind the video. You can just click the box, I don't want it. It's fine. You don't have to do anything special. You're good on Windows 10 until October 14th of 2025. I can't see any reason why you'd want to go to Windows 11. I can't imagine what it's going to do for you today in its current state that Windows 10 isn't already doing. However, that won't always be the case, but that is the status of it currently as of June 9th, 2022. I can't see any benefit to having Windows 11 at this time. I don't necessarily see any harm in having it either, other than if you're creating an update on a machine that you don't have any problems with, you might just be introducing problems to it. And if that's a risk worth taking because the upgrade is going to do something for you that you can't currently do, then that risk makes sense. But just to do it because it's there could be inviting all kinds of headaches for you. So I would advise, unless you have a specific reason, I would avoid Windows 11 at this time. But again, it's nothing specifically wrong with Windows 11. It's just not really offering any incentive beyond what Windows 10 already does, so I don't understand the point of it. But that is going to change. The Greek contributes $10 and said, someone's going to enjoy that system. It's a very good deal. Well, and it's a good deal because of the generosity of other viewers, right? From Bob Connors, who sent the case, from Ryan in Nevada, who sent the motherboard. So I can pass that on to you guys. So it's really the community. It's not me. It's the community, and you're all helping each other is ultimately what it's about. And that's why I'm motivated and incentivized to sell the computer to somebody in the community versus just a stranger if I post an ad up to sell it. Why should that stranger get the benefit of the community? Unless the community is not interested, in which case, all right, well, then that decision's made for me. Did anybody else have a momentary blink in the screen? That's what Vern wants to know. Yeah, Vern, I saw it here too. I don't know what that was. Have I heard anything about the new AMD AM5 CPUs? I have, yeah. In fact, you can go to Twitter, and there's a couple of articles. Someone's already taken the heat shield off and shown what the dies look like on the inside and stuff. But you can read about that on your own there. I kind of skimmed over the article, so I don't know. I haven't memorized anything about it, but nothing was surprising or unexpected. It all seems pretty much par for the course. So let's see, Nick Poverman says, this is Nick's wife using his chat on your live stream. I wanted to let you know he's in the hospital after a car accident, and I know he loves this community. Oh, wow. Well, I hope he's going to be okay. I hope that he can watch us from the hospital and we can keep him a little distracted and entertained for a little bit. And we'll look forward to having him back here in the chat room. Thanks for letting us know, and we'll send positive vibes and positive thoughts out his direction. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. We are just out of time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and I am 1 minute shy of the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. Thank you for all the support, all the contributions from Kelly Stewart and Don Dry to those in the super chat, including Dr. Bill and Alan Lindas and William Grayson, the Greek, Mira Ora, Majestic White Tiger. Oh, I missed that one earlier. Majestic White Tiger contributed $5 New Zealand dollars and said, remember that X99 board I have, the one with the power on issues? I replaced the power supply and it's working again. So yay, it was a power supply issue. Hey, thanks for following up. That's always helpful to know what fixed the problem when the problem's kind of weird like that. Iggy the Human contributed $10. I missed your contribution, Iggy. My apologies. He said, may you have a wonderful evening. Well, thank you, you too. Thanks, of course, again to Barry Russ and Tom K, Mario L and OG Gaming, Planet Cryos, and Kuro Yukihime, and Sinister 21, and Mark Baggett. Mark contributed the first contribution today on the live stream. So thank you so much, everybody, and for all my friends in blue and all the kindness in the chat room, for interacting with me, and everybody's being cool today. That's the best I can hope for. So thank you for all being a part of it. I'll see you all again tomorrow, live as always at 1 o'clock Pacific time every Friday. I hope you'll join me then. Until then, bye for now.